In this video, let's look at the anatomy of a really well-written cold email. My name is Michael Bohannes. We run a coaching business and an agency where we help consultants win clients for their business. And we've been doing cold emails since about May this year, which is about 4 months. And we have been consistently, pretty much from day one, have been booking calls to the tune of 3% of the outreaches that we do. It's a 3% call booking rate, which is not the world's best number. So we're only getting started, but it's pretty good. And if you yourself don't yet have a 3% call booking rate on your cold emails, then I may have a couple of things to share with you here in this video. So what I prepared for this session is a cold email template that one of our clients has written. And I've changed a couple of details, and I'm going to show you what I would have written differently and why I would have written it differently in this short session. Okay, so here we are. This is the cold email. It starts with, "Hi, Michael. I hope you're doing well. I'm a real person and I'm not mass emailing. Here's a quick video scrolling your website." Then there's a Loom video where they are recording a short narrative, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, over the target client's website. And then, "Did you know that employees hired through an agency have a 47% longer tenure than organically sourced employees? And when you hire with a clear strategy in mind for the next year, you're far more likely to hit your annual goals. My name is John Smith, and I've been where you are. I've hired hundreds of employees for my own businesses. I also completed a human resources training through Harvard along the way. I help busy owners hire the best people for their business. This is the time to plan for 2023. I charge a flat fee of 20% of the employee's annual salary. 15% if you sign up before the end of October. Our service is satisfaction guaranteed. Email me back or give me a call if you would like to discuss. John." Okay, so that is their email. Now, I'm going to quickly point out what are the main problems with it, and then we're going to go into a version that I've written that hopefully will get them really, really good results. So here we go. First of all, there is no offer stated at the beginning of the email, right? You always have to think in a cold email, you have like 3 seconds to catch this person's attention. So the first sentence has to either be something really nicely personalized so that they see, wow, this person has actually read something about me, or it needs to go straight into the offer, and you have to hope that the person is in actual need of your services, and you need to phrase the offer in a way that is pretty much understandable within 3 seconds of looking at it. It's understandable what it is about and can therefore filter out and polarize between the people who don't need your services, which is 95% of your market, and the 5% who actually have a need. Also, the way how this is worded, it is really like as if a guy were to pick up his date at her house, and just say, "Hey, just so that you know that I don't only want that one thing, I brought you flowers." That's similar, right? "I'm not mass emailing. Here's a quick video scrolling your website." It's just too overt, and it won't get people to smile. It's rather a little bit like, "So here's a quick video scrolling your website." So those are the two main problems. I don't like the wording of the first sentence, and it does not contain an offer. And that's already sinking 90% of your chances to get that person's attention. Because if I don't really know what an email is about, why should I read on? Like, why should I wade through a wall of text before I actually figure out what this person wants from me? No, tell them right away what you want to do with them, for them. And only after that, you can provide some supporting material. Good, so let's keep going. "Did you know that employees hired through an agency have a 40% longer tenure than organically sourced employees?" It's not too bad, but it immediately raises my suspicion. It's like, okay, where is this information from? Is that really true? And then when you hire with a clear strategy in mind for the next year, you're far more likely to hit your annual goals. Okay, it's not too bad, but I still don't know what you are selling. Right. And then it comes, "My name is John Smith, and I've been where you are. I've hired hundreds of employees for my own business." You don't need to say, "My name is John Smith." It's pretty evident from the email if you're sending it from under your name, which you should. "And I've been where you are." Okay, fair enough. "I've hired hundreds of employees for my own businesses." Okay, now we're getting sort of closer. And then he said, "I also completed a human resources training through Harvard along the way." Now, I know that you're doing this for social proof. However, that can spectacularly backfire. Depends really on your audience. But I could imagine if you are emailing, let's say, more working class type businesses, that is deadly. I think you mentioning Harvard is rather get you the opposite effect. They will either think you're some ivory tower egghead, or they don't like current college kids because they just don't think they know much, and they just arrogant and so on. Needless to say, especially these days, the climate from universities, what is coming out of the universities is not the most conducive to make friends with working class people. Okay, so that is one thing. But even if you are a more academic type like I am, I'm not particularly impressed. This is like credentialism that is like, so what, you know? And especially if you were to target more people like me, I've been in pretty good academic institution myself, and I've seen plenty of people who are incompetent coming out of these elite universities. So it just won't fly with me. And I think on the whole, mentioning anything like Harvard or any other type of credentialism is tricky. I wouldn't do it. And then I help busy owners hire the best people for their business. Now, we finally know what you do. Okay. You've sort of hinted at it with the, do you know that people hired through an agency? So of course you're probably a hiring agency, but still you haven't formally stated what you do and what you can help me achieve. So it's like, I have to piece it together from all of those hints that you're dropping. And I need to kind of combine all of this and say, so they're an agency and they want to help me hire people. Finally, I got it. And it took me effort. That's just not going to fly. You must never make people do any work and expend any mental energy to figure out what you do. Okay. Release the confusion. Confusion is the worst thing you can have when you send somebody any kind of sales offer. It needs to be extremely clear what it is that you do. So this is the time to plan for 2023. That's a good line. And then I charge a flat fee of 20% of the employee's annual salary, 15% if you sign up before the end of October. I would not mention anything about how much it costs to work with you. Of course, people know that somehow you will have to charge for your services. That is clear. There's absolutely no reason to indicate of how much it is, even less so to perform any kind of pressure selling. I'm a little bit ambivalent about action taker discounts. I used to use them. I used to say that, okay, my coaching program is 7,500. If you sign up now, it's going to be 5,000. And I've sort of gone away from this because too many people use it and it just feels a little bit cheap. And after all, you're trying to pressure people into buying now. Now, I know it's very often for their own good, so that's fine. It just smells bad. I don't like doing it, especially because I know that, and they know that I know, that if they came around 2 days from now and then said, okay, I want to do it, I would still, of course, not give them the high price, right? And so I just don't like action taker discounts. This is a similar one, but that's kind of ambivalent on sales calls about it. Once you've really determined that they need you, once you've really did a proper pain and problem analysis, then you can maybe offer an action taker discount, but definitely not in the first approach. Definitely not in outreach. Price has zero reason of existence in a cold outreach email. So completely eliminate that line. And then our service is satisfaction guarantee. Those are just empty words that don't mean anything. Satisfaction guarantee, what does that mean? How will you guarantee my satisfaction? If you have something concrete, like for example, if after 6 months you're still not happy with the person, we will refund you anything you paid us. Okay, now that is interesting. Although I would not use the word refund in an email, I would say something like, if you're not happy after 6 months, you don't pay us, or something like that, because refund could trigger a couple of spam filters. But satisfaction guarantee doesn't mean anything. And then email me back or give me a call if you would like to discuss. John. Okay, cool. So we've covered the main problems of this email. The main one obviously being that there's no clear offer being stated, that it takes me too long to figure out what it is that you're actually selling. Then number 3, you are mentioning your prices. You are doing credentialism, and you offer things that are just weird and they just trigger unpleasant associations. Like satisfaction guarantee sounds a little bit like a cheap perfume salesman. Needless to say also that the word guarantee is quite likely to trigger spam bots. So I would also not use that. Okay, good. So that's the summary of what is wrong with this email. Now let's look at a better written email. Good. So let's start with high name, then personalization. That is optional. Personalization is nice if you can really personalize something that cannot be easily found with, by a virtual assistant or somebody who is not very sophisticated. Like if they just look at your university and you just write, hey, I saw that you studied at Vienna University. What a prestigious institution. It's not good. It's just, I know that personalization these days seems to be table stakes. So kind of everybody is called to do it. But I've seen, and I also saw this in my own emails, that poor personalization actually is worse than no personalization at all. If you get right to the point, It's better than trying something fake and bonding with them over something that you just found online. If it's relevant, or if it's something really recent, let's say they posted something 2 days ago on LinkedIn and it had good results, it had good engagement, you can reference that. Hey, I saw your post about XYZ. Great engagement. I saw that you got 52 likes. That's excellent, right? Okay, now you got my attention because, first of all, because you researched me a little bit, and because you're flattering my ego because I had a good post recently. Okay, so that kind of personalization is okay. One thing that I've also seen work quite nicely is to mention someone who has recently recommended you on LinkedIn. So it shouldn't be longer than a year ago, but as long as it's somebody who's relatively recently recommended you on LinkedIn, you can just say something like, hey, I've seen John Smith recommending you on LinkedIn. Great endorsement from a credible source, something like that. Finally, another way of personalizing really well is if you actually take the time to look up some of their content, for example, a podcast appearance that they've had. If you can look that up and you can find something and you just go in the middle of the podcast, listen to for 2 minutes and see if they're saying something interesting there and then quote it back to them, that impresses people because they see, wow, this person actually listened to my podcast and seemingly listened to it all the way through. Okay, so those types of personalization are good, but they're optional. If you cannot find something, don't sweat it, just go with it. Cold email is, needless to say, also a volume game. So you also need to get the volume out. Cool. So that's the personalization line. And then my team and I had a look at your website and LinkedIn profile, and we're very confident that we can help you develop a hiring plan for 2023 in a hyper-focused 90-minute workshop that you won't pay us for. Okay, now you're sort of telling me what it is that you're offering. Develop a hiring plan for 2023 in a hyper-focused 90-minute workshop, and it's free. So that's what you're offering. Now, of course, I know that this is not going to be the only thing you're going to want to give me because you need to make money. So obviously there's going to be something on the back end, but at least you're making it client-focused at this point. You're offering me something that I'm actually might be interested in if I want to hire, and you are doing it something that is very, very low risk, right? Obviously, the only thing I can lose is 90 minutes. So now you have above the fold, immediately after the opener, you have said what it is actually that you want to give me. And now here comes the magic. Once you've done that, and I have understood what it is that you're selling, you've of course polarized away 95% of the people who open the email. But the 5% who remain, they're now interested, you have their attention, and now you can actually write more. It does not have to be super short. I think that is a myth. And I've seen this also. I've booked calls with pretty long emails. It's just as long as you make it clear in the very first part of the email what it is that you're selling, you can then be even a little bit more wordy, and it won't matter because people will just get hooked by that initial offer. Then I've created this custom video for you to A, show that I'm not blasting you from some mass email list, and B, tell you more about that session our not yet customers love us for. Okay, so that's kind of, you're just offering this session. And by the way, if this is not your standard modus operandi, if you don't offer these sessions, then start offering it. In this example of where somebody is actually effectively a hiring agency, a recruitment agency, just offer that because you want to build affinity with this person. And a hiring plan for 2023, you will simply just listen to what they want to achieve in the next year. And you will see that they, if you're selling to small businesses, might want to hire maybe 3 or 4 people, and you can give them some feedback. It's not a lot of effort for you, but you can then present it as an actual hiring workshop, a strategic plan for the next year, and you give that away for free. It's effectively a bit of a longer sales call, right? Where you will truly understand what they need, and then you can sell them something off the back of it. You still do it, of course, with the genuine aim to help and to help them create something, and they're not obliged to then take you up on the offer. But simply couching your service with such a low risk value proposition in order to build relationships is a really great way to get strangers to start talking to you. Okay, so just start with something like that. Cool. Also, the original email, let's go back here, suffers from the fact that here's a quick video scrolling your website. I don't really know what you're going to be telling me in this video. And so I'm not very likely to click on it because it's just a video scrolling your website. For what I know, when I see this, it could just be you wiggling over my website for 5 seconds. What good is that? Why should I click and waste time? But if you say, what is actually in the video? What are you telling me about? You're going to be far more likely to get people to actually click on it and watch it. Okay, good. So that is about the video. Then you start with, it's a fact that employees sourced through an agency are 47% more likely to stay with you than people you find on your own. Then the common trait of the 1% richest self-made business owners is that they have a written out hiring strategy. And then hiring is a science when most people consider it an art. Come to think of it, maybe I've added too many ... So I'm going to remove that. But you get the point, right? This is now where you can bring up your supporting arguments. We can use that statistic of the 47%, although I'm a little bit skeptical of it. But if you can back it up, you don't have to link to sources and so on. But if you can back something up, by all means, mention it. It can just be a claim. And if people then respond, where's the source for that? You can respond and you would then have a conversation going. Okay. So this is now where you can marshal your troops, your supporting arguments that make a good case for why they should be working with you. And then I've been where you are. I've built multiple businesses. One of them peaked at around 100 employees. That is, of course, a little bit of a risky proposition because you are slightly putting yourself above them by saying, I've been where you are. It's like grasshopper. But if it is pretty obvious, if you've done your research and you have a clear success trajectory, like in this case, our client has, and you are targeting people who very likely don't have that kind of success trajectory yet, it's fine. It's fine to do that. Just be aware that some people might get ticked off by this when you are somewhat slightly condescending, belittling them. People are hypersensitive these days. So you might have 5% or 10% of people who will get pissed off. Okay. It might be worth, because here you are sort of pulling out your credentials. And this is the kind of good credentialism where if you've achieved something on your own, and you have the tale to tell, there's absolutely nothing wrong with mentioning it. The bad kind of credentialism is, the type of way you visited Harvard and so on. That is usually not good, because while, yes, it's an accomplishment to get into Harvard, but overall, it's a net negative when you are trying to, wave it like a flag, like this is your achievement, and this is why they should be working with you. Cool. Then we go, what I learned is you can create a no-fluff, hyper-focused hiring strategy. That you can create a no-fluff, hyper-focused hiring strategy in one 90-minute session with your team, and it will serve you as the perfect guiding light for the year to come. And so that's kind of, he's been there, he's done that. And what I learned, I can then hand over to you, and we're going to do one really good focused 90-minute session to create a hiring strategy. I think that sounds like a really compelling value proposition. And then we're happy to put our money where our mouth is. That session is completely free with no strings attached. And then a little bit of honesty. I always find this very helpful. People appreciate honesty. And that's why I say something like this. Sure, we'd love to then help you find those ideal candidates for you, but there's zero obligation from you to do that. Let's connect and talk. And then a final client-oriented statement. I'd love to be one of the main reasons for your success in 2023. That's great, because if you want to be a reason for my success, I like that, because you think about my success, not about yours. So you're sort of, with every single sentence like this, you're sort of increasing tiny way the likelihood that they will respond positively. And then would you be open to a quick chat to discuss the idea of the workshop, right? So you are only asking them to talk about the workshop, to talk about the low barrier to entry offer. And you're not asking them to sign up, and to give you the next retainer for the next 6 months, but just something small like that. Cool. I hope this was useful. This is how we do cold emails. If this is interesting to you, if you would like us to actually review your cold emails, then just add me on LinkedIn or send me an email. You will find the email address in the description of the video. I'd love to hear from you. And if not, just keep following this channel with more tips for consultants on how to get clients, and sign up on our weekly newsletter at michaelbohannes.com/subscribe. Thanks a lot. Ciao.